Thank you very much, Valencia. It is a pleasure for me to be with you this evening. At the outset, I would like to express my profound thanks to our Honorable Prime Minister for granting me this wonderful opportunity for sharing with his listening audience a few thoughts, what, in my view, is a very, very important issue that not only St. Kitts and Nevis is dealing with, but also the entire CARICOM region. And it relates to the productivity of our countries. I should also note at the very beginning, though, as one who spends a great deal of time monitoring and evaluating the performance of St. Kitts and Nevis, I am proud to report to this evening that the state of this union is good. Several important performance indicators suggest that St. Kitts and Nevis is outperforming most of the 34 member states of the Organization of American States. By outperforming them, I am focusing primarily on a country's ability to provide for the welfare of its people. This is often observed by a country's net migration rates. When a country is not doing well, the masses tend to head for the exits and move around in search of better alternative opportunities. Today, folks are seeking new opportunities in St. Kitts and Nevis, yet there is very little out-migration of the masses from St. Kitts and Nevis, leaving the islands to seek refuge in any other countries. With the single exceptions of the Bahamas and most recently Panama, St. Kitts and Nevis is now ranked third in per capita income, as the Prime Minister noted, among Western Hemispheric states. I note also that on August 18th, 2020, updated data from the World Bank shows that St. Kitts and Nevis now has a higher per capita income than our oil-rich friends in Trinidad and Tobago. For me, this is of paramount importance. We are outperforming the giant countries of Argentina, Brazil, and Colombia, and in our own CARICOM region, outperforming Barbados, Jamaica, and now Trinidad and Tobago. The question then is, how could this be? We have no known pool of petroleum reserves. We have neither gold nor bauxite. What we do have, by contrast, is a strong government which at the outset established and pursued a prosperity agenda that has been successful in holding the line on taxes, in fostering a growth in foreign direct investment. We have adopted a sound fiscal policy of living within our means, meeting an unconscionably high outstanding public debt load, or reducing that, from over 180% of GDP to a manageable and impressive 57% of GDP. This reduction of our outstanding public debt now frees up badly needed funds. Rather than spending money on simply paying for paper, you're essentially freeing up funds for meeting basic human needs. To illustrate, I understand that we have just funded a deepwater pier without having to go to a commercial lending institution for funding for that. And providing also the outstanding record that the Prime Minister has drawn attention to with respect to the medical services, for which I'd like to commend him and the staff of the medical of the hospital for the outstanding achievements in that regard. The nation's prosperity agenda has also received a big boost from two major exogenous fiscal actions taken by our major trading partners. One, there's first a record high reduction in taxes in the US that spurred the growth in household and business investment. Secondly, a huge reduction in excessive and burdensome government regulations. This record high tax cut had the predictable effect of increasing US disposable income, that is the money that you actually take to the grocery store, and in turn consumer spending on the full range of household expenditures, including especially leisure travel to places such as St. Kitts and Nevis. As the old adage goes, when the US sneezes, we in the Caribbean catch a cold. But the converse is also true. If America explodes in growth and prosperity, we in St. Kitts and Nevis receive a share of those spillover benefits. And we have considerable evidence that demonstrates this. To illustrate, consider the years 2017 and 2018. St. Kitts and Nevis surged to the top of all OECS member states, surpassing St. Lucia with an all-time record high 1,300,000 visitors. I'd like to commend the distinguished Minister for Tourism for the work that he's done in making that possible. We've also done very well in the number of cruise calls and the number of stayovers. I think we again have emerged at the head of the class with over 74,439 stayovers. That too is quite an accomplishment. The taxi drivers and those who are engaged in the hospitality service will attest to these windfall gains, which, when received, they actually take their earnings and spend them in their own neighborhoods. We often lose sight of that, but it's often very much money tends to flow down from those who have it to those who don't. So that when a taxi driver actually shows up at Port Zante and he loads up a number of persons, taking them back and forth to Carambola, he of course earns a nice paycheck, which he doesn't really put away in his pocket only, but he spends it in his own neighborhood to some extent. So that matters. Now, these laudable accomplishments, notwithstanding, do not provide a sufficient basis for St. Kitts and Nevis to rest on our laurels. There is an independent sovereign state of Singapore, which is 12 square miles smaller than Dominica, which has reported a per capita GDP of US $94,000 in 2017. It turns out, ladies and gentlemen, that is 3 times as much as our per capita income in St. Kitts and Nevis. Then, closer to home, there is Bermuda, which is roughly half the size of Nevis, with a strong St. Kitts and Nevis population. As many of you know, many of folks from St. Kitts and Nevis actually went to Bermuda to actually build a naval base there. Bermuda reported a per capita GDP of US $99,000 in 2010. They are our neighbors. Many of them actually originated in St. Kitts and Nevis, but they've done remarkably well. The remarkable performance of St. Kitts and Nevis has not occurred by happenstance. It reflects the will and dogged determination of a people that have sought to foster a climate that seeks to motivate the flow of capital movement to our shores and discretionary fiscal policies that hold the line on punitive taxes, economic agents to keep more of what they earn. Holding the line on taxes is important, ladies and gentlemen, because it all starts there. To the extent that you're able to hold the line on taxes, it means then that your inhabitants would have a larger disposable income. What will they do with it? They'll show up at the grocery store and spend it. When they spend it, they'll be buying goods and services, not only for themselves, but for also persons in their own neighborhoods, generating income for those persons. And that helps to explain the very strong economic growth that has occurred in St. Kitts and Nevis. Achieving our highest productive potential goes beyond uttering nice-sounding words. It requires that each must seek to perform at an optimal performance level in addressing the obstacles that stand in our path. We are living in a highly competitive world, ladies and gentlemen. Each one of our 14 CARICOM member states is richly endowed with pristine blue waters, refreshing tropical breezes, and brilliant sunshine. Bringing to market questionable products will not be accepted for long by a highly discriminatory public that has come to expect first-rate services. As noted earlier, St. Kitts and Nevis has performed well relative to its peers, but the country remains far short of realizing its full productive potential. Concerned about this issue, the government has given consideration to putting in place what is called an incentive-based compensation plan, or sometimes simply referred to as a pay-for-performance plan. The intent is to confront head-on the deep productivity issues that are considered to be a major obstacle that are imposing a burden and preventing the country from reaching its optimal performance levels. I should note at the outset that the difficulty that we're having with raising productivity is not only with us, it's right across the entire CARICOM region, and it's very much present across much of South America. In the words of our Honorable Prime Minister, Dr. Timothy Harris, and I quote, "Our quality of life is good, yet there are areas which require improvement. We must do more in the quest for excellence. Our labor productivity must improve. We must do more in less time, and we must improve the quality of our work." In practice, under an incentive-based compensation plan, which I've had the pleasure of working on for a number of years, each employee will have before him or her 4 or 5 measurable, pre-established individual goals and perhaps 2 national priority goals. We're separating out the goals and the aspirations of the individual, who would sit down with his supervisor at the beginning of the performance period and actually reflect on the goals that they would be assigned for that particular individual. But over and above that, there are also national priority goals, which the administration may set on its own. One of those goals may very well be one of the very troubling issues that we're dealing with. That is, the nation has an import problem. It turns out that roughly half of our gross domestic product is fleeing out of the country. It's not all for food, I should point out very quickly. A lot of it, of course, is for manufactured products. We may not have very much control over stemming the flow of manufactured products that are coming into our shores, but ladies and gentlemen, we do have enormous control over the imports of food products. You go to the grocery store and you see the bill that you're paying there. It is estimated that we're paying, in 2017, I think they paid over $213 million for food products. So that, I think, is just one example of a national priority, which to me should be placed at the head of the class in terms of be addressed. Another could be an improvement in our global ranking on the World Bank Ease of Doing Business. That matters too. We need to do a better job of trying to actually encourage, to actually process folks when they actually try to start a business. Those who perform at the optimal performance level will receive, under the proposal, an add-on bonus award that is commensurate with their measurable achievements in meeting and exceeding their performance goals. So, for example, if we have a farmer that has actually increased his production of vegetables to one of the resorts or the to the supermarkets, and if he emerges at the head of the class as the most valuable farmer, it is expected that that individual will receive a commensurate reward that is commensurate with his contribution. He has addressed a major national problem or import bill. That is the significance of his work. For me, he's one of the most valuable players that we have on the island. So we would reward him handsomely. I'd go even farther to say that it would not be outrageous to offer a half holiday to announce to the nation that this is the individual who is our most valuable farmer. Put him in the back of a pickup truck and drive him around the island in an open truck, stopping at villages, so that folks would come out and celebrate what he has actually done. This is a major, major achievement, because keep in mind that these imports, these are dollars flowing out of the country. And to the extent that we can reverse that and have the individuals producing goods, products at home, and I know that we have the Minister Alexis Jeffers, who is here, who has done a very good job in Nevis in transforming agriculture there. And I know that he has made a deep commitment to do the same thing in St. Kitts. Well, we're not going to solve this problem overnight, but if we can make baby steps along the way, I believe that we can actually deal with that issue. We can bend the curve so that we can then bring that money that was now flowing out of the country, using it for producing domestic products, and by so doing, raise the per capita income of St. Kitts and Nevis, and in turn even widen the gap that now exists over our peers across the region. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Hall. You've given us a lot of thought-provoking ideas to think about.